Well, hello, Sunday school. How are you guys today? You guys, I have a great story for you today. One of my most favorite stories from when I heard it for the first time in grade school. Okay, here we go. So, right now, in this moment of this story, the Israelites are really struggling. They are being ransacked by another country. And what's happening is this country is coming in, and all their soldiers are like taking all of the Israelites' food. They're stealing their food. And then they're also killing so many of them. So what the Israelites were doing now, they had kind of like spread to the hills and in the countryside, and they were hiding in amongst the hills and the trees and the caves, and they were like miserable. They couldn't be home. They didn't have enough food. They were just, it was not a good situation. So they cried out to God for help. Well, God had a plan. He was going to help them, and he was going to use a guy named Gideon. And here's the thing though. Usually when someone goes and like does this heroic thing and this great, wonderful deed, typically they're like, this really powerful, like great person who's popular. But Gideon he was a poor guy. He was kind of like scared of everything. He was his family and his tribe, the group of people he lived with, they weren't like important people. So he was a nobody. And God decided that this nobody, this guy with, kind of scared of everything, was going to be the one who would save Israel, who he would use to save Israel. So there was one day where Gideon was threshing wheat. And if you thresh wheat, that means you take the like stalk or like straw of the wheat and then the little like beady things on the top, and you separate the little grains from the stalk, and then you can eat those little grains. So he was threshing wheat, and he was doing it in secret because he was so scared. He didn't want any of his enemies to come and find him and then take his grain. So he was doing it in secret. And then all of a sudden, the angel of the Lord shows up, and he's just hanging out by a tree, and an oak tree. And Gideon, he sees this, just, looks like a man. It's the angel of the Lord. And the angel of the Lord told him, he said, Gideon, you are going to lead a bunch of soldiers into battle, and you guys are going to defeat this enemy nation. And Gideon was like, I think you may have the wrong guy. Like, I'm not quite up for that task. And the angel of the Lord kept, explaining, like, I am sending you. And then all of a sudden, Gideon realized he was standing in the presence of God. This was God. This wasn't just a guy coming and telling him that he was going to go do this. This was God. And God told him, the angel of the Lord told him, you're going to win this battle. You're going to be victorious. And so Gideon prepared an offering for him, for the angel of the Lord, and he knew, okay, this is God who's talking to me. So then God gave him a mission. The angel of the Lord said, the first task on your to-do list as this leader, you are going to go into the city and you're going to tear down these giant idols, false idols to false gods that your dad, Joash was his dad, that your dad put up in the city. Now, these idols were like big, prominent idols, like people, all in the city would come and they would worship this false god. And so in the middle of the night, Gideon got up and he destroyed those idols. It was dark, and I don't know what he used, like some kind of stick. I'm not really sure, but he had to take this idol down. So crumbled it right there in the city. Well, in the morning, the townspeople woke up and they saw that this had happened, and they were mad. So they figured out who had done it, and they figured out, okay, this is Gideon, son of Joash. And so they went and they gathered all the people and they said, Gideon has to be killed. And Joash, which it's really neat that this happened because Joash was the one who set up the idols in the first place. But Joash was like, no, if Baal, this was the false god they were worshiping with the idols, if Baal is actually true God, then he could defend himself, right? He can stand up for himself. And Baal, since he's not the true God, he didn't do any. There was no thing that was going to happen to Gideon. Gideon was safe. So Gideon had done this difficult thing. It took courage because Gideon knew that people were not going to be happy with him. And what God was teaching him here is you got to stand up for what's right. You got to do what's right, even if it's going to cause people to not like you, or even like you have to go against someone in your family who has done something sinful. You got to stand up for what's right, for what God has said. So then it was time to gather the Israelite forces. And God had a specific vision for how this all was going to happen. This battle was going to take place. So he gathered all the people, and then before all this was like set in place, Gideon got scared again. Oh, Gideon, he's like us. We struggle with our faith. Sometimes we just don't trust God when we should. So Gideon's like, God, can you please provide me with 2 signs to show me that you really can help me defeat this enemy nation? And when he said like a sign, he meant like do something like a miracle to like show me how powerful you are. Which, by the way, we don't ask for signs. We know God is powerful. He keeps his promise. There's no need for us to see signs. But Gideon asked, and God was merciful, so he gave him a sign. So Gideon said this, okay, God, there's this fleece. It's like, you know how like sheep have wool? Well, when you like take the wool off the sheep, and it's all this fluffy, like it's a fleece, a big thing. And Gideon's like, okay, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to leave the fleece outside. And what I would like the sign to be, God, is when I get up in the morning, I want that fleece to be soaking wet. But all the land around needs to be dry. So like, you know how when you wake up in the morning and sometimes there's dew on the ground? That would have happened all the time. But so Gideon was like, this fleece has to be bone dry and everything else can be wet. And then I'll know that you can do this for me. So Gideon went to bed, got up in the morning, went out, checked the fleece, and picked it up. It was soaking wet. All the land around was dry. Fleece was soaking wet. He actually wrung it out into a bowl and he filled the whole bowl with water. God was going to do it. He was going to protect him. He had power. But Gideon was like, you know what? I kind of need another sign, God. We have weak faith sometimes. But God is so merciful. God said, okay, I will give you another sign, Gideon. And so Gideon said, this time, I want all the land, when I wake up in the morning, to be wet. So like dew came across the land. But I want this fleece bone dry. So now it's the opposite. Fleece dry, land wet. So Gideon went to bed, woke up bright and early in the morning, and he went out and checked on the fleece. Sure enough, dew was all over the ground was wet. But the fleece, bone dry. You could wring it all day and not get a drop of water out of that fleece. So finally, okay, Gideon, he knew. God is powerful. He's going to give me success. I'm not going to die. He's going to save us from this enemy nation who is killing all of our people and starving us to death and taking away our homes. So he was ready to go. He's ready for battle. So then a big army was assembled, and Gideon, was ready to go. And God was like, oh, whoa, Gideon, this is way too many people. You do not need this many soldiers. But Gideon was stunned because there were 135,000 Midianite men. So that was the enemy country. 135,000 men in their army. And Gideon had a big army, but it was not 135,000 men. So Gideon was stunned. He's like, what are you talking about? And God said, if Israel has a huge army and they go out and they win, they're going to think it was their own power and their own strength. And it's never our own power. It's never our own strength when we have success. It's always God's strength. So he's like, if there's so many men in this army, they're just going to think that they're just so great and powerful, and they're not going to rely on me, which is what we need to do so that we remember to believe in Jesus. So Gideon was like, okay, the fleece thing has convinced me. We're going to do this. So God told Gideon, tell all of the soldiers, if any of them are scared, they can go home. They don't need to fight this battle. So Gideon spread the word, and let's see, we had told you were afraid to go home. 22,000 people were left. Oh, yeah. So 22,000 people were in the army, and then 12,000 people left, and then they were left with 10,000 guys. All right, think about it. There's 135,000 men in the Midianite army, and now Gideon has this measly little group of 10,000. Seems like a lot, but not really when you compare it to the two. So he was like, okay, well, I believe in that. I believe in God. I know the fleece thing showed me he can do it. And we're good to go, right? 10,000 guys. All right, let's do this. But God said, oh, no. That's still too many, Gideon. God wanted to show Israel to trust in him. God is so good. He can do anything he wants. It's not on us. We're not the ones with all the power and the smarts and the strength. So God said, here's what I'd like you to do next, Gideon. I would like you to take all those men, so 10,000 guys, and put them all around the springs, so water. And I want you to watch how they drink up the water. And so he divided, he said, any man who drinks the water like a dog, should I do an impression? So if they took the water, got it in their hands, and then they, like a dog, those guys were going to be in one group. And then the other guys, if they knelt down like to the water and drank from the water, rather than like lapping it up like dogs. That was the other group. So Gideon did this, and God said, okay, send all the guys who lapped it like dogs, send them away. They don't have to fight. And then he said, all those other guys, they're going to be the ones. Guess what? We're down to 300 soldiers. So 10,000 were left. Now we've got 300. If you are very good at math, you know that in this upcoming battle now, 135,000 Midianite soldiers and 300 Israelite soldiers. That means for every one single Israelite soldier, there were 450 Midianite soldiers. Could you imagine? You right now, you go and you fight a battle, just you, against 450 people. Do you see how God was really showing Gideon and all those soldiers? He's like, I got this, guys. I got this. Trust me. Believe in me. I got this. So now Gideon was ready to go with his 300 guys. So now he was scared again. So God told him, okay, I want you to sneak into the Midianite camp overnight. So wait till it's dark, sneak in there, and I want you to listen to what the soldiers are talking about, okay? So Gideon did. he and a friend, I think it was his servant, I'm not really sure, but it was a friend. They snuck into the Midianite camp, and they heard these two soldiers talking. It was dark, and the one soldier, the Midianite, the enemy soldier, was saying, "Oh, dude, I had this dream." He was talking to his friend. "I had this dream last night, that a big loaf of barley, bigger than our camp and the place we're staying right now, this giant barley loaf," barley is bread, "rolled down a mountain and crushed our camp." And the friend was like, I know what your dream means. The barley loaf, this bread, was a symbol. It stood for Gideon. Barley, back then, only the poorest of the poor, the not important people. They just lived in poverty. They were the ones who ate barley. Barley was really hard and coarse, and it'd crumble, not very delicious. So only the poor people would eat it. And remember, Gideon was very poor. He was a poor farmer. He was not from an important family. And so this Midianite soldier told his friend, yeah, that barley loaf, that stands for Gideon. Gideon and his people, his army, are going to come and destroy us. And they were really scared. But Gideon heard this, and he was relieved. He bowed down right then and there and worshiped God with joy. He was so happy. Okay, now I can be super confident. So here was the plan. Gideon took his 300 men, and he divided them into 3 groups. So 100 would stand on one side of the encampment of the enemies, another 100 would stand on another side, and then the other 100 would stand on another side. Now it was pitch black dark, and each soldier took a big clay pot, like a really tall clay pot, and they lit a torch. So this was before they were next to the encampment, so Midianites didn't know what was going on. So they took big old torches, lit them, and then they put them in the clay pot so you couldn't see the light. And so they carried these clay pots all the way over to the Midianite encampment, and it was super dark, and you couldn't see the torches. There was no light at all. The Midianites, they were sleeping, right? Some people were on watch, but it was middle of the night. They were asleep. And Gideon told them, okay, as soon as we're all around the camp, we will smash the clay pots, so that the light from the torch is huge. Remember, a torch had fire on it. And then at the same time we smash those pots, we're going to blow our horns. So if you can imagine being asleep, middle of the night, out in the dark wilderness, and all of a sudden you've got 300 people breaking clay pots with their big old torches of light all of a sudden, and the sound of 300 horns being blown. That was scary. They all woke up, and they were so disoriented, they were so scared that they turned against each other and started killing each other. That's how panicked they were. So God had just allowed Gideon and his army to defeat this entire 135,000 army of enemy soldiers with a toot of a horn and a blast of a torch. So amazing. Now, this thing happens at the end, and it's such a bummer, and it reminds us that, man, we are just like this. We sin too. But here's what Gideon did. He was so happy and so pumped up. They won the battle that he said, okay, everybody, I want you to say, for the Lord. Oh, great, for the Lord and for Gideon. And what he was doing there, he was saying that, oh, I was the leader of this army. This is all the glory needs to go to me too. For the Lord and for Gideon. So Gideon did the thing that God didn't want him to do, which think that it was his own power that defeated this army. But God is so gracious. When we do that, just like Gideon, we we don't think about how God is the one who does all the things for us. God's the one who makes us good at sports. God's the one who makes us smart. God's the one who gives us any cool gift that we ever could have. He does it all. It's not because we're so great. We're not. It's God. And so just like God forgave Gideon for getting overly, self-confident, he forgives us every single time that we think that it's us doing this great stuff when we have success. He forgives that, and all we have to do is just remember, look at the cross of Jesus. Remember that he died for that sin too. So that is the story of Gideon, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye, Sunday School.